AGLES Eagles. Oh yeah, it's the Matt Zaborski Show calling you live and direct back in Brigantine, New Jersey. My first show in about 5 months. I was over in Europe for a little while. I got COVID, and then I got a COVID cough, so I was having a very hard time without coughing and sounding like I was very congested. So this is the first time doing the show, but back with my good friend, good buddy, one of my great friends. That's John Mathers. What's going on, John?
Hey Matt, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate you coming on and jumping on with me while I'm down here in Brigantine for about 3 more days before we head back to Washington. So really good to see you and your lovely wife. Thank you for having us over on opening day.
Likewise, yeah.
All right, so before we get started, I do like to thank Al Gore for inventing the internet. It's the first thing. The second thing, I appreciate the Spreaker platform to use. And the third thing is the loyal listeners. You know, I've done a lot of shows related to Ukraine lately, especially in this calendar year. I haven't really done a sports show in a while, so it's kind of good to get out. And but very, very positive things happening on the ground in Ukraine, especially in the east. And that's awesome to see how the Russians just seem to be collapsing within themselves. So that's that part. But we got to start out on Sunday. What are your initial impressions of the game?
Well, I mean, if I could give it a grade, I mean, first game of the season, probably a B. One thing that I took from it, it's one thing that I've realized recently in the NFL is it's basically it's the product now of the NFL of not having one preseason, not having that extra preseason game. I kind of feel like we kind of get shitty play the first 5 or 6 games of the regular season. So I think all across the board in the NFL on Sunday and into Monday, kind of got mediocre tackling, not a lot of high scoring stuff. But as far as the Eagles concerned, optimistic.
Okay.
The Lions, I think, are a better team than they were last year. We definitely have some things to clean up, whether that be on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, I think Jalen Hurts played a pretty decent game. I think everyone's overreacting about his running ability, but we can get into that stuff. But overall, I think a B. I mean, nice first game. A win's a win.
Yeah.
So a lot to build on the rest of the season.
Yeah, excellent synopsis there. I agree with you. A win is a win. We were watching that game and got nervous in the fourth quarter. I think there's reasons for that we go into. I was going to give them a B-. There were some things that I was a little bit not happy with, especially the offensive line, the pass block, the pass protection, and the defensive line just flat out stunk. And I think there's one of the reasons that Lions came back is that our secondaries just get tired chasing guys around when there's no pressure on the quarterback, even as bad as Jared Goff. But what was the one thing that stood out the most when you think of Sunday, either offensively or defensively, that is a very positive thing moving forward?
A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a real deal. I know they kept I know Jalen found him a lot, but I mean, he was everything that came to him, he caught. He's hard to tackle. He is we talked about this the other day. He is T.O. I don't want to say he's T.O. yet, but he has that T.O. presence that Jalen has. We have this big bodied guy, very Alshon T.O. and he just catches everything in his way, and he's hard to tackle. It's a huge upgrade from the wide receiver position, and on top of that, what more can you ask for from a big outside guy? We haven't had that since probably Alshon Jeffrey in the Super Bowl era or Super Bowl time for us. So I think that was a great move by Howie Roseman. Yeah, we'll go into that, and I got to give major props to your boys' offseason. We'll go into that a little bit. Yeah, A.J. Brown, I read today, he was 10 catches, 155 yards, tied his career high, but he was targeted 13 times. And I think that will drop down. That won't be consistent. You want to get a guy that's new to the offense, get a guy being targeted, but he did catch everything by the way. The 2 catches I remember the most were the one, or his first one, where Jalen threaded it through 3 Lions defenders, and he just kind of snatched it, went on a curl, went back, and he had a hard time bringing him down. And of course, that deep sideline shot where Jalen puts it right on the money, and he dragged those defenders a good, felt like 10, 12 yards after that. The Lions secondary really has a lot to be desired. He seems like he's the type of guy, he's almost like that bruising back. Once he gets through, the first hole, you might need 2, 3 guys to pull him down,
Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely, and I definitely agree he has that presence of T.O. T.O. is one of the greatest of all time, right? But hopefully we hope A.J. Brown does have a longer Eagles career than T.O. does. But I think the other thing that I took away, I thought the game went the way it was going to. I didn't think Detroit was going to lay over. we took them to the woodshed last year when the season kind of turned around. They're on Hard Knocks. Talk about how tough they are, and Dan Campbell, wonderful guy. And Detroit had sold out a home opener for the first time since 2009, or was it the first non-Thanksgiving game sold out since 2009? That's incredible. Like, you and I cannot fathom an Eagles game not being sold out.
The beauty of Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. I mean, if you watched it, it was a lot of hype, and Dan Campbell is a guy you'd want to run through a wall for.
Yeah.
And they came out and they just exactly what Dan Campbell said in Hard Knocks. Like, they're going to team that's just going to fight whenever, for how long, and they did that. They did it. So hats off to them.
Yeah.
They're not a bad football team like they have been in seasons past.
Yeah.
Are they the top echelon of the NFL? No, but they're a lot better than they were the last couple seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. They upgraded their wide receiver core a little bit. Got our boy from Philly, Swift, back there. He was a beast on Sunday. If it wasn't for A.J. Brown, I think Swift is the MVP of that game. I mean, Hurts probably, but I mean, we just could not tackle him. We broke off, was it a 50-yard run in the first, second, or third play of the game?
Fantasy points.
There you go. Yeah, they're always good to get. Just don't score the touchdown, beat my team, but give me the yards. Yeah, I thought the Lions defense came out. Aiden Hutchinson, the hype, he's worth the hype. I wasn't sure about him. There were some knocks about him being from Michigan, being a little light, but he really showed up. He played. That defensive line was always there. I felt like Jalen was under pressure. I felt like 65% of the game he dropped back, and he just did not have the time that offensive line should be giving him.
Yeah, he didn't have much time, like you were saying. The offensive line sort of, whether it's pass protection, chipping with the running back, he didn't have time, and that's why plays sort of broke down, and he had to, save it with his legs. And I think that's, a lot. I've heard a lot of sports talk radio in the last couple of days. Him and Hall about how he ran 17 times, and we can't do this, and to a certain extent, I agree with people, but again, that's his game.
Yeah.
Michael Vick was able to run with his legs. Donovan McNabb earlier in his career,
right.
Same thing. You're not going to take the running aspect out of his game. We just want to make sure that, and we noticed when we were watching the game too, a lot of times he was getting popped, sliding, and that's the stuff that you have to sort of have in the back of your mind when you're going to do that 17 times.
Yeah, but his runs, I felt like. I didn't feel like he was bailing because he didn't know what was happening. I think he was bailing as the pass rush was there, and it was in his, it was really there a lot of the times. How many third downs did he convert? I mean, just with his legs.
Yeah.
He got 91, 92 yards, I believe, rushing, and then he even converted a couple fourth downs that we needed at the end of the game. He definitely played a great game. What did you see beside? We talked about the pass blocking was not good in my opinion. But what did you see him throwing the ball? Did you think it was the same old Jalen? Did you see any kind of improvements in his fundamentals?
I mean, I can think of that one pass to Kenny Gainwell that should have been a touchdown that was kind of like in the ground. But I think like any game, quarterbacks generally aren't 30 for 30. You know what I mean? Like, so you're going to have some bad throws. Something might get tipped. I think that deep pass that you mentioned to A.J. Brown was a perfect example of people saying like he doesn't have the arm strength. Like, I mean, what more do you need than that? You know what I mean, do you need to throw a 70-yard pass? Like, I think given the time, I think he has the accuracy, and I think it's something he's working on. I didn't see anything blatantly like, I go back to the days of McNabb when 3 or 4 times a game he would be throwing a ball into the dirt. I didn't see that for Jalen Hurts on Sunday. I mean, yes, there's some throws that Kenny Gainwell, like I said, I'd like to have that one back. But it wasn't like a lot of passes that were like, tipped or, DBs were close to it, or even close to being interception. I mean, we also have to bring up the fact that he didn't turn the ball over either, which is another huge thing. Number one, when you're running the ball, and number two, when you're kind of, flinging the rock, so hats off to him there. But as far as passing, nothing really concerned me.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like he was getting rid of the ball quicker, and he was throwing with confidence. I felt like he was stepping to his throw. When Detroit rolled him to the left, which is what Todd Bowles did to him in the playoff game all game long, he's weaker that way. But a lot of quarterbacks, there's not many quarterbacks you roll them to their weak side, they're going to be accurate. You just hope for a fact that he's able to keep rolling right. I did like the way he threw, and I was going to bring up one of the reasons they won. They didn't turn the ball over. The Detroit did, and that cost them 7 points right there on the touchdown to make it 38 points.
I mean, at one point we were 31-14, 31-17.
Yeah.
Like we were up.
Yeah.
Big time. I think that goes into sort of starting to worry about the defense a little bit. And I think that's the most concerning thing to me right now.
Right.
But again, I think here we go, first game into the season. I don't know if we need to start looking for a new defensive coordinator. I know this is Philadelphia, so we're going to start to do that. But it's what concerns me about that is that was the same issue we've had the last couple seasons. Is what does Jonathan Gannon do? What is his defensive scheme? What is our sort of MO on defense?
Right.
Are we bringing pressure? Are we just being really complacent and prevent? And we're going to give the offense as much as we can, bend but don't break.
Right.
And I don't know what we are. I mean, there was some pressure. I know Avonte Maddox came on like a corner blitz.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't see a lot of pressure.
No.
But again, that again, applaud the Detroit Lions offensive line for stopping our defensive guys. You know.
So, yeah. The defense, the pass rush was just not there at all. I feel like Gannon. Now, I don't think he's the worst ever. I think Billy Davis, who did with Chip Kelly, was the worst ever I've seen.
Shout out to Billy Davis.
Yeah, but I think he's now also not the best. The Lions were down 2 of their guards, and their center was banged up. And if one of those guards would have played, shout out to Vaitai, our Super Bowl champion, that's playing right guard for the Lions. I think Gannon was just like, yeah, our pass rush will just get there. Like they'll get it and we'll stabilize, and they didn't. Now I don't know if that's talent, if that was just a bad scheme, because he did blitz more Gannon than he did. In a percentage time last year, he hardly ever blitzed until he needed to. This time he was blitzing more. I don't know if it's just Cox, Hargraves, and BG are just getting old. They're long in the tooth. Being Eagles fans and growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, I know I'm older than you, but we know that defensive line, I mean, that was the great, and we think every defensive line is not that par, but we always expect to have that. Yep. And I'm not sure if it's the age, if Fletcher's got to go, or maybe less playing time. Because even when they put Jordan Davis in, Jordan Davis didn't have any tackles, but the Lions only rushed 2.9 yards when he was in the game.
He was also, I believe, the
highest.
22
steps.
He was the highest rated rookie defensive tackle in week 1.
Okay.
I know, for what that's worth. I know people love stats, but I saw that and I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's something to be proud of. But again, I think what the other stat was, they were averaging rushing 10 yards a carry with Fletcher and Hargraves in there. With Jordan Davis, it was like 2.9.
Yeah, 2.9.
And the stats were incredible. And I think today when Jonathan Gannon got to the podium and they asked him about that, he was kind of just nonchalant, Jordan Davis played well. He's going to get his time to maximize opportunity, blah, 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 blah. And, the proof's in the pudding. If the guy's if the stats are there, keep him in the game a little longer.
Yeah.
But again, first game of the season.
Right.
First game for a rookie.
Right.
What do you want to make the guy play 80 snaps?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right. I
mean, it's great to see him out there. There's been times in the past where we've had first round picks that haven't even played. This is kind of a refreshing thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And I just love that kid. He's probably my favorite draft pick in a long, long time. We'll go into that a little bit later.
He really eats up the middle. And then just to bring up one other point, I think that another offseason move that you saw in the preseason play really well, that's Kaiser White.
Yes.
And that guy, he's always around the ball. I don't know what it is. I know he's a reformed DB, which I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that either.
So they kind of pulled a Nate Gary, hey, let's take you and turn you into a linebacker. There he is. So, I mean, I really liked him, and look how that turned out. Bradbury for a pick 6 off a tip.
Off of White's tip?
Yeah.
White tipped that ball.
Great. I mean, I don't even know last year if we had – I don't know if we had a pick 6, a take-back pick 6 from defense last year. I don't even think we did.
We had I know Slay had a fumble return in Denver, but I don't think it was a pick. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was a fumble. It wasn't a pick.
Right.
I mean, you saw the impact of those players as well. White tipping the ball to Bradbury. I thought White was flying all over the field in the beginning. That's what they said. He's a tackling machine. Bradbury, I thought played a decent game, but I do think the secondary just kind of worn down with the lack of pass rush. But overall, the pass defense was there because Goff was terrible until the fourth quarter.
Big surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. Yeah. But when you're letting Jared Goff run 10 yards for a first down, something's in the order that's just not sitting well in that defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, at the top echelon of quarterbacks, Jared Goff isn't there. I mean, he did help take the Rams to a Super Bowl, so I can't knock him for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he does have an arm. I think their wide receivers in the Lions are a lot better than they've been.
Yeah.
Amon St. Brown is a player.
Yeah.
Hawkinson,
Yep.
he's always around the ball, and like you said, Swift, like they got like a 1-2-3 there that
Yeah.
is not nothing to sneeze about. You
Yeah.
know?
And Chark is a good receiver as well. I wanted him to come to the Eagles. He dropped a couple, but he hasn't played in like 2 years because he was out all year last year, and he was playing with Jacksonville. So I think he's going to add something there too. And Detroit, I think Detroit's got a lot of positive things happening there, but we still scored 31 points on them offensively. Got the tip, got the 6. Didn't turn the ball over offensively. What did you think of Sirianni's play calling in the going for? He's not calling the plays anymore on offense, but those fourth down calls.
I'm always a take the points guy. I'd rather have points than nothing. I mean, it depends. Like if we're talking about like last night's game with Denver and Seattle, a little bit different. I'm sure we'll get into that, but I'm a take the points guy, especially early in the game. Listen, sometimes he goes for it, sometimes he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more conservative.
Yeah,
that's just how I would be.
Yeah,
I think there are times when you can go for it.
Yeah.
When you're in, Jake Elliott's not a bad field goal kicker either. No. So you take the 3 and hey, they won, so I'm not going to sit here and complain. But to answer your question, I'm okay with it if they work. If they don't work, then of course I'm going to be a little bit more critical. But
I think we converted at least 4 fourth downs. 2 were on that last drive. That Miles Sanders run is probably my favorite Miles Sanders run. Right. Whereas 4th and 1, the Lions looked like they stopped him, but his legs kept going, and then he just burst out. And big shout out to Miles. What a game he had.
Absolutely. For a guy in a contract sort of year, a lot of talk about him and, are they going to pick up his 5th option? What are they going to do with him? He's always banged up, and good for him. I mean, there's been a lot of, like I said, there's been a lot of talk about him, and let's just, hey, we also can't be remiss to talk about the fact that, touchdowns in who? Boston Scott.
Yep.
Miles Sanders.
Yep.
And Jalen Hurts.
Hurts and Gainwell.
So
it's 4.
So, you can't, listen, if you're going to all 4 running backs and your quarterback who's basically another running back scorer, great. When you look at the scores from week 1, I think the Eagles in the NFC were the top scoring team.
Yep.
The top scoring team, I think, was the Patriots.
It was Chiefs.
I'm sorry, Chiefs. Yeah. And anything else in the NFC East or NFC, I think the Saints were they scored like 27 points. So again, not to use that as the gauge for how good your team is, but when you're putting up when you're scoring a lot, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Take 6 off of that.
Yeah.
Because of your defense, you're 31.
Yep.
So it's like I said, nothing bad comes out of that, and I think the one thing that I'm excited for, at least in this season, is looking in the NFC particularly. Mm-hmm. I think it's wide open. I think in the AFC, Buffalo Bills are the team to beat.
Yeah.
Their ticket is punched, in my opinion, until someone can dethrone them. I know that, listen, Cincinnati was in there last year, but Buffalo looked really good.
Yeah.
So the NFC is wide open.
Yeah.
And now I can understand why the hype is around the Eagles. As much as I believe it or don't believe it, that's another thing.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. I look at these Eagles as sort of like when you compare them to the Phillies in the mid-2000s. I figure this is like the 2007 version of the Phillies. They weren't picked to go all the way, but they had the great core, to build upon. They made it to the playoffs, lost to the Rockies or something like that, but then they went on that historic run. And I think the Eagles are on the precipice. I don't have the expectations of the Eagles going to the Super Bowl or even the championship game. I can see them winning the division only because the Cowboys lost a shit ton of talent and injuries.
Mm-hmm. And they're the Cowboys.
And they're the Cowboys. The only team that did not score a touchdown in week 1 were the Dallas Cowboys. But overall, I'm pretty positive on the Eagles. It's pretty good, hyped up. Couple things anything concerning you. After we talked about the defense, but anything else like individual players? Because I have 2.
Anybody concerning me? We sort of talked about Fletcher Cox and getting that pressure up front. Mm-hmm. Again, it's hard. It's so hard week 1. Like if this question was like week 4 or 5, I think I'd have a better answer.
Right.
As far as the defense, I'm just concerned about giving up that many points when you were up.
Yes.
Like I want to be able to be a team where, if you remember the Super Bowl year 2018, we were always bending,
Yes.
not breaking.
Right. Right.
And I want to be able to go up 31 points, and I want our defense to put teams away.
Right.
And I don't want to be like fourth quarter having to, get the ball and get a first down so we can end the game. I want the game already over at that point. That's just my comfort level. So definitely defensively as a whole, that's a concern for me. I know the offense is going to score points.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a high-powered offense between Jalen having the ability to run, his passing looking to be better. Again, it's week one. The offensive weapons, the running game.
Right.
So, offensive line probably would be a concern for me right now based on the protection on week one.
Yeah.
So it's probably both the lines I would answer to that question.
Yeah.
But again, like, here comes the hype train. The Eagles have the best offensive line in football.
Yeah,
It's like when you watch after week one, you're like, well, did they? Like, it's kind of concerning.
And I think that the crowd noise affected their pass protection. So they were fine on the run. The running game was strong. The pass protection, I think there's a few delay games in there. They got away with one. But I think that was a lot that had to do with the crowd noise and just playing against another defensive line for the first time, besides their own. Devonta Smith kind of concerns me.
He's always concerned you.
He's always concerned me. I have, my thing is that I don't know if he has the weight to play in the NFL. I do not question the guy's talent. I don't question his head, his heart, but he only weighs about 170 pounds, and those guys can hit you. These are NFL cornerbacks. It's not Vanderbilt and Kentucky anymore. Even though he did go against LSU at Alabama and the other ones, that concerns me because he just looked like he wasn't even in the game that day. He dropped a pass that he had to come back on. He did get a pass interference, but I don't know if Jalen wanted to get A.J. Brown involved so much that Devonta wasn't open. I don't know what it was.
I think it was I think it was basically the fact that when a play breaks down and you're scrambling, maybe AJ. I don't know the answer. Was AJ Brown always open? I don't know.
Yeah.
We joke around about the sign hanging from his locker. It says "always open." Was that the way it is? I'm sure that there's going to be games where AJ Brown might even touch the ball 3 times.
Right.
So I'm not really concerned about that because as long as you're scoring points, that doesn't concern me. If we scored 14, if the score was 14-13,
right,
then I'd be a little bit more concerned.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we were running the ball, very effectively.
Yep.
I think we were moving the ball from a passing perspective pretty effectively. So that doesn't. He's going to get his.
I hope so.
He's a good route runner, and based on last year, the fact that he was basically the number one.
Right.
I mean, he's nothing to, sneeze about.
No.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
But now with A.J. Brown probably getting double teamed, it's going to open him up.
Right.
And next Monday night, it's going to be an interesting thing because they got tape on this now.
Yes.
They're going to have to. Minnesota's going to have to shade someone over to A.J. Brown's side.
Yeah.
That's going to leave Devontae Smith one-on-one.
Yep.
You got Dallas Goedert in there. Don't fret about Zach Pascal. He caught a pass.
Right.
He looked like he's got hands.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, we Quez Watkins. Did Quez catch a ball yesterday?
I don't know if he caught one or not, but he's another one that seemed conspicuously absent from the passing game. But you're right. But Jalen was on the run a lot. It could be just Devonta, A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert, 3 catches for 60 yards. You want to see more from a fantasy perspective, from my perspective? But, dude, that's 20 yards of reception from your tight end.
Yeah.
And he's got that potential every time. Like, right. I think I'd like to see him being featured a little bit more. But, Devonta just concerns me a little bit. He's definitely not a Jalen Reagor. Like, that guy was just a head case. Devonta is a Heisman Trophy winner and a football champion. He'll be fine. I'm just hoping that it's not what I think it is with him. His weight. Another good surprise coming out was the punt returner, Covey.
Yeah.
The reason I say that, he did not look overwhelmed. He's in a dome catching he kicked the ball up there. It disappears for a little bit. He caught with confidence. He knew when to fair catch it, and he had a nice little run there. So I think I was pleasantly surprised just watching that aspect as well.
Was it Utah State or something?
Utah. Yeah. The hurdles guy.
And it's kind of crazy. No, that's Devin Allen. You're thinking Devin Allen, the hurdles guy.
Oh, Devin Allen, yes.
Covey. When they before the game they said he was coming up. I was like, wait a second, who's this? And I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's the hurdler guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Big surprise, but I agree with you. Like, I didn't feel like, except for that one time where I think it was Pascal, which was like he was like right behind him.
Yeah.
And like I didn't want that ball to get like
Yeah.
knocked.
Yes.
I felt the same way. I felt like he had confidence and command of like just grabbing the ball out of the air, and even the time where he caught it and he ran, like, all right, he had like some speed and like we haven't had that. What we've had the last couple of years is Jalen Reagor either muffing it or Jalen Reagor catching it and running 10 yards back to try to go around. So, I mean, definitely a bright spot. Special teams.
Another good bright spot to bring up, maybe not from a performance review, but as a teammate, Zach Pascal. I mean, he was the first one out there front and center after Jalen got hurt. Looked like he had a concussion. Still think that he did. But Pascal was out after, I don't forget the Detroit player's name. Do you remember the guy who got ejected?
Walker.
I mean, he was Zach Pascal was going after him, and now and to me that speaks to a lot about Sirianni, because that was the one guy that Sirianni really wanted to seem to get on the Eagles. And you're like, this guy is maybe third, fourth receiver. Like, what is it about him that you like? Our receivers aren't trash. This isn't 2000. But I think that also speaks to Sirianni's sort of, MO. He wants these guys. He knows that will,
he's a wide receiver guy too.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see the Zach Pascal move very similar to the Torrey Smith move. Again, different player. But Torrey Smith when they tried to make the move for Golden Tate, it was just that third guy that they could rely on. When A.J. Brown's getting double covered, Devontae Smith might not be open, Dallas Goedert might not be in the game or something, and you could go to Zach Pascal. He caught that ball, and granted, one catch, but still, I mean, he caught it with confidence, and he was running, and I mean, he looked good. He looked good, you know, until he drops the ball, then we
exactly.
Have more thoughts about it. But he looked good.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Jason Avant. Kind of going that way. But I love to see his passion, his fire, willing to stick up for Hurts right away. That speaks a lot to his character and what this team is going to be about. I think they really seem to enjoy playing for Nick Sirianni as a coach. I've seen that last year, and I still think that this year.
I mean, when you come last year, when you're 2-5 and you turn it around, I mean, a lot of times we always talk about this in the NFL, like teams can kind of quit. Rookie head coach, what is this guy doing? He's talking about watering the flowers and all this other mumbo jumbo. But I think he kind of lets the players have personality. I think that he holds them accountable. I think that in the NFL today, you're seeing it very, very hard now. I think with Bill Belichick, it's very hard to do the Patriots way when a lot of the main core guys aren't there to kind of be like, this is the way we do it. It's a new regime, new blood. I think Nick Sirianni, as much as people think he's corny with his T-shirts and sometimes he doesn't have the best sound bites, but at the end of the day, I could give a shit less about how he is at press conferences. The only thing that I look for is, how is he putting his team in position to win? If it's a fourth down, like you said, and you go for it, it's the last play of the game. That's a decision that gets put under a microscope. How he brings people up the night before games for depth. I think that's important. And then also seeing how the team evolves from game to game to game. Because if you start to see your team go from 1-3, what's the issue there? And can you rebound from that? He did it last year, but again, different year, different team. So you just hope he can kind of continue to roll a little bit.
That's excellent points. I also think he knows how to speak to this generation of players.
100%.
I think he just understands because he's young. He's 38, 39. He's your age, basically. Where it is like a Belichick, he's might be running into problems, how to communicate with them. And Andy Reid, not necessarily. Andy Reid's just a good guy. But maybe McCarthy in Dallas. I think he's in over his head down there, like McCarthy. But Matt LaFleur seems to know how to handle the Green Bay Packers. They do not perform in the playoffs like they should, but he's won 13 games his first 3 years in the regular season. A lot of that could be something about different there.
I think that the Matt LaFleur thing helps when you have Aaron Rodgers.
Of course.
If Matt LaFleur has Jordan Love, I'm not sure how.
Sure.
Again, is is he as good as a coach with Jordan Love because maybe they're not winning as many games?
Right.
Or does he have Aaron Rodgers, who everyone sort of respects Aaron Rodgers respects the coach, so does it kind of all play together?
Yeah.
We'll say, look at Hackett and Russell Wilson, right? Hackett's like a coordinator now. I'm sorry, he was a coordinator, now he's a head coach.
In Green Bay.
So now, like, you'll see, like, can he mesh? Can he work with a Russell Wilson who's a Hall of Fame quarterback? You know what I mean?
Yeah. John, I'm going to do something that is going to absolutely surprise you. In this podcast. No one's probably listening anyway, so I have to give Howie Roseman extreme amount of credit for this offseason.
Oh, this is me falling off the floor.
Extreme. Everything he did this offseason, I think, was the right move. Everything. It reminded me of the offseason that we got like T.O., and then, if you remember correctly, we also got Javon Curse like the same day. It was like, what the hell's going on here? Mm-hmm. But we talked about how bad his draft picks were. You know how much I still take him to the ringer over Justin Jefferson just because I'm an LSU fan, not because I hate Howie. Mm-hmm. But in the draft, trading up to get Jordan Davis was a brilliant move because the Ravens were going to take him, and he's a fun-loving guy, great kid, and we also talked about draft picks and why I pick on Devontae Smith. My first, second, and third rounders, I want them here starting for the next 7 to 10 years, every year. Mm-hmm. And a wide receiver, you often don't get that coming out of the first round, but with a lineman, you will. Yeah. Then he makes the fantastic trade for A.J. Brown. No one knew that he was even available. Then he signs him to like a team-friendly contract when these wide receivers like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, and those are getting stupid contracts. Yeah. And A.J. Brown's is not a stupid contract. Then he goes and gets Jason Kelsey's heir apparent, finally, in Cam Jurgens. Mm-hmm. They don't have to move Dickerson over next year to center, or whenever Jason retires. I like the Dean pick in the third round. It reminds me a little bit of Sidney Jones, but I like it in the third round. He's there, and Dean, whether or not does become a productive NFL player, he's a leader as well, well respected. And some of his later round picks were a solid tight end that they have a lot of hope for. Another pass rusher that came out. And then the free agent moves, he gets Hassan Reddick, brings the local boy home, signs him to a team contract. He was a little invisible on Sunday, but I think it's also a new scheme, first year, whatever. Sure. I mean, I'm probably in the Kazir White, the Bradbury, and then the trade for the Saints guy, Chardner Gons. I mean, it was nuts. Yeah. Everything he did everything to do to upgrade this team. Yeah. So I will give your boy major credit, and he can stick around another 2 years.
He's probably listening, so it's fine. No, listen. You know how I am with Howie Roseman. I think, again, like, people call me a homer for him, homer for Howie, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you look around the league and you look at GMs in the league, I think he might have one of the highest tenure. I mean, one of other 3 GMs in the league. I think he's like the highest tenured. It's like Belichick,
right?
I think maybe Schneider from Seahawks and and Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad general managers in the NFL.
Yeah.
And what I try to harp and try to tell people is that, the Justin Jefferson pick, the miss of the Justin Jefferson pick, the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside pick, and other picks in the past, teams are going to have that. If you go through and look at other drafts, the Ravens have not had a great first-round draft pick 1 year or 2 years.
Right.
Every team does that. You can't hit on everything.
Right.
Where the Justin Jefferson thing hurts more is when you take Rager. Justin Jefferson is basically now like one of the hottest, best wide receivers in the league, and he was right there for you. Mm. Great. But when you turn around like what you're saying and go get A.J. Brown, draft Devontae Smith, you kind of learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And would you rather have Justin Jefferson and maybe a couple more unknowns, or would you rather have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown here at, like you said, team-friendly contract, and also a young guy to kind of work with Jalen Hurts? He's known Jalen Hurts for a long time.
Yeah.
So he's not a bad GM. He misses, but everyone misses.
Yep.
And I'd much rather have him than a lot of other GMs in this league. And I'm glad that he's part of this organization for as much as crap that he takes. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that he doesn't bail and go to another team.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be in a lot.
Oh yeah, he'd be hired right away.
But again, he's also the first one to take a hit when something bad happens, and he does a pretty good job I think, learning from his mistakes. And again, I just want to bring up this one point that I think it's very important. When Chip Kelly got here and he was thrown in the broom closet,
Yes.
a lot of people could have just kind of put their tail between their legs and just accepted whatever, and to come back and do what he's done and now continue to do it. I think he said it before, kind of like started a fire within him, and I think you've seen that now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. I thought that was a highly respectable thing that he did, because what he did when Chip Kelly came in and pushed him to the broom closet, he went around the world, not just the NFL, and talked to GMs and owners of EPL soccer teams or football teams, however you want to call the word.
Football.
Yes. Maybe he went to Australian rugby. I don't know, but I know that he went around the world and did that. He just got arrogant after the Super Bowl with some of his picks. And the one guy I always will say was the most arrogant pick was Clayton Thorson. 5th-round draft pick out of Northwestern, who was a quarterback. Oh, we just need a camp arm. We have so many other needs. Why are you drafting a camp arm? You can find a camp arm. But he cleaned up the Reagor, got value for Reagor.
Got what?
Got value for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who got cut the other day. He didn't even make the team in
He
Seattle.
got the same picks from the Amari Cooper trade. The same exact,
that's
actually
nuts.
a little better.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. And then and he drafted the heir apparent to Fletcher Cox. Jordan Davis is the future of the defense, in my opinion. Cam Jurgens going out and getting Dickerson last year. I wasn't high on the Dickerson pick because he's had a lot of injuries in college. Yeah, but he's played as soon as he stepped in, and you never hear his name called, and that's what you want, offensive lineman, right? So, John, got to give it to you, buddy. Howie can stay for a little while.
Shout out to Howie.
He's good.
He's the one that's doing it. I think you hit the nail right on the head with sort of like filling the holes in the future as well, right? We talked about Cam Jurgens. Like, we don't know how long Jason Kelsey plays. I think this is Jason Kelsey's last year personally. Do they? I don't think they off Jason Kelsey if the Bucs need a center.
Right.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
But next year you have the guy that slides right into that slot, right?
Yep.
Defensively, Fletcher Cox probably gone next year. You got Jordan Davis. You might have to fill a hole there to get some more depth. Linebackers, you got a whole ton of them.
Yeah.
You got Slay and Bradbury. You got your safeties. It seems like you could start to now cultivate. Maybe you go out and get a bruising running back if you don't like Miles Sanders.
Right.
You have so many things that you can do now, and you have the picks to do it.
Yeah.
And even if, I hate to say this, but God forbid anything happens with Jalen Hurts, whether it doesn't work out because he's under a microscope right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You have 2 first-round picks.
Right.
But I think you're much better off staying with what you got and filling those other holes and go from there. But again, we're week 1, so let's not.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's go to 2024 when they're coming off the 2023 Super Bowl. What holes is he going to fill then? No, that was good. So next week the Eagles got their home opener Monday night against the Vikings. Did you happen to catch any of that Vikings Packers game?
I did.
What was your impressions?
Justin Jefferson's a lot of trouble.
He's
a lot of trouble. He is. He's always open too, and he was like wide open for a couple plays. I don't even know what Green Bay's defense was doing. He's dangerous. So, I mean, to me, if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm like, wherever he goes, somebody's going with him.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. As far as Kirk Cousins is what I would call serviceable. He's better than
Goff.
He's better than Goff, but he's not Brady.
But I mean,
that's a bad example. I'm trying to think of another one.
He's a lot like Carr, I think, and I like Derek Carr a lot. But Cousins is he's a great quarterback, but he doesn't have that big game experience winning. He seems to choke. He's almost like Wentz did, choking out with Indianapolis. The Minnesota quarterback Kirk Cousins. I'm thinking Carr in my head. He has lost games.
Sure.
With Washington and with Minnesota, trying to get them in the playoffs or on this thing. So yeah, I agree with you there.
And not to also talk about like Thielen's not like a bad guy.
No,
like,
he was the number one.
Right. It was him and Diggs for a while back there. And then Dalvin Cook is a pretty good running back. And the one thing I noticed really one of the biggest takeaways, other than Justin Jefferson, which was the obvious, was that their defensive line was they got to Aaron Rodgers a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
And that's, talking about what the Eagles went through in week 1 with, pass protection and everything else. That to me is like a red flag. Like, you don't want that to sort of roll over to week 2. You kind of want to like look at that tape as well with the Vikings and be like, all right, we got to stop this defensive line because they're coming. Like, And Rodgers, like, he's not as mobile. I mean, he can be mobile, but he's not as mobile as he used to be.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that you kind of that I like about Jalen is that if a play does break down, you have the opportunity where, as of like a Nick Foles is back there or, a Kirk Cousins.
Wait, Foles in the conversation.
Yeah,
it only took you about 41 minutes.
But you know what I'm saying? Like if those type of guys are back there, the pocket's collapsing, he's getting a sack. Whereas Jalen might be able to find a hole and go. You know what I mean? So, but definitely that's a big red flag to me is their defense.
Yeah, I saw the same thing watching that game, and it just their impact. Rodgers has faced almost the entire time. He didn't have his weapons. We all know Devontae Adams was out, but they also their other number one, Alan Lazard, was
ankle.
Yeah, he didn't play, and that was like a last minute decision for his ankle. They didn't use the running backs as much as they should have, Aaron Jones especially. And they had some guys dropping the balls, which Aaron Rodgers is not used to.
The kid from, was it North Dakota State or South Dakota State?
Yeah.
Wilkins, whatever, wide open ball right in his hands. I mean, he was like 2 or 3 steps and just fumbled the ball.
We know about those North Dakota State boys, don't we?
Oh, God. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see Monday night because then part of the thing about the Detroit game, the Eagles have to weather the storm. When you're the home team, the away team on week 1, that emotional wave comes in. And you have to weather that. Remember, the Lions went right out and scored. Then we got up 31-17. So the Vikings are going to be in the same position. Philadelphia's going to be rabid. The Vikings don't play well here over their history.
Right.
Not even just the NFC Championship game. Monday night
home.
Yeah.
Monday night home at the Link.
Yeah.
Is probably like the closest you're going to get to like a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like a 1:00 home opener game, like at the Link. Is sure it's loud.
Yeah.
But Monday night. Yeah. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Like you saw that the 12th man last night. I don't know if it's as loud as that. But it's loud.
It is.
And that's a huge, positive thing for the Eagles to have that on Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be in their back pocket. Hurts is going to have that team fired up on offense. The defensive guys will get after it a little bit more there with this game coming up. So
just got to shut down Justin Jefferson.
Well,
I mean, or let him get his. But don't let him get a lot of his, if that makes any sense.
The Packers give him a lot of his,
You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you a touchdown. I'd rather you not have one. I'll give you one.
Yeah.
But after that, it's all you got.
Yeah, and I think what concerns about the defense, too, if you remember this time last year, at the beginning of the season, we went 2-5, but we faced a plethora of, like, quarterbacks, like Mahomes and Carr, and we were just carved up. And that's what I think is scary is because Jared Goff is able to put up 35 points. Cousins is better, and he's got better weapons.
Yeah.
So it is going to be a challenge for Gannon this week, the defensive coordinator, to see how they keep Minnesota somewhat in check. I don't think you can keep them in check. But the other thing I also look at that game, they only scored 23 points on the Packers. And they're at home. I mean, that wasn't a hell of a lot of points. Packers do have a good D. Their secondary is very good, except for the guy, Jair, wanted to cover Justin Jefferson. There's all these memes of Jefferson just killing him.
Yeah. Listen, I think that from my original point when we first started here, I think this is the NFL, what you're going to see in the first 5 games.
Yeah.
You're going to see teams not score as many points. You're going to see mediocre play. And if teams can take advantage of that in the early part of the season, great. If we can beat Minnesota, I think that is I think beating the Minnesota Vikings is sort of planting that flag a little bit to be like, listen, we're for real.
Yeah,
we're for real. Like when you look, like I said, you look at the NFC. Minnesota's a pretty good team. Minnesota's a playoff team, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that if you can beat them, I on Monday night, I think you can flex a little bit. But you can't go out and then lose the next 3 games either.
Yeah,
but I think it's
Jaguars and the Commanders.
It's that if you look at like sort of like a tachometer, like a car, like you're kind of like, you're revving up. And if you could beat the Vikings, man, I'm like, okay, I'm getting more excited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, don't go out the next game and have a goose egg against the Commanders or whoever we play. I forget who we play third.
Down in Washington, Carson Wentz and his boys.
It's going to be. It's one of those games where it could either go really bad, really quick on Monday night because you know how much higher the expectations are on Monday night.
Yep.
Everyone's watching. The pressure's on.
Yep.
And you just hope that it's not Randy Moss against us in the McNabb era. Remember that?
Yeah. But we owned them back then.
Yeah.
Moss hardly ever beat us back then in the McNabb era. But anyway, yeah, you're right. I mean, Jefferson's a beast. He's the best receiver now in the NFC, if not the league. That's a big stretch in his second year or third year, but he looks that way. Cook is a hard runner to shut down, but he can get injury prone, and I think you can frustrate Kirk Cousins. And I think our secondary pass defense played well for the most part. For a pass rush, can get in there a little bit more. I think we'll have a better shot. And that's what's so great about football. Since it was first invented to now, it's always the lines play, the offensive line and defensive line. Which one of those dominates, usually that's the team that wins. Whether you're running the wing T, the run and shoot, the West Coast, whatever. I don't even know what the offense, the RPOs they run now.
The Chip Kelly offense.
The Chip Kellys, yeah.
I think we take that for granted too. I think as an avid football fan, it's not the sexiest part of the game. Watching the offensive line, the defensive line.
Yep.
We're in the world today. We're more of the flash. We want to see the cutback running backs. We want to see the Jamar Chases one-handed, the Odell Beckham catches. Yeah. We want to see the passing stuff.
Yeah.
We don't want to see the down and dirty, sacks of the of the NFL. We're all about the flash. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think as a football fan, that's one thing that I take for granted is like not really like watching that. You know what I mean?
Right. It's Matt Kwasaborski show about 47 minutes with a great Jonathan Mathers. Great to see you again, man.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah, how was the summer?
It wasn't bad. Catching some rays. Yeah. I got a little tanner. The freckles came out.
Yeah, I see that. I see that.
Yeah, you can't. There's no bad day down here. It's beautiful. Had a great summer. The weather was beautiful. I think we had 1 or 2 rainy days. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I can't complain.
Good.
Not complaining.
Awesome. What are some takes from week 1? And we look around the league. What kind of surprised you? What were some cool things you had seen? I think there is one cool story coming out of Kansas City that happened. But yeah, let me know what you think.
I think, again, I think I touched on this. The Bills, I mean, as advertised, Josh Allen, take away a couple of his weapons, Beasley and, whatever. I mean, if they had a bruising, if they have Derrick Henry on their team, like I would just not watch football. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Josh Allen, I think I'll say it. Josh Allen, I think is the best quarterback in this league.
Okay.
I think he's better than Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is cooked.
Really?
I think people will laugh at me about that, but I think Patrick Mahomes is cooked.
They put up like 44 points.
I think he's cooked. I said it after he won his first Super Bowl. I said they're never going to be able to keep this team together. And that was like the greatest show on turf 2.0. And Tyreek Hill left.
Yeah.
And how old's Travis Kelce?
Right.
What are you going to do with Juju Smith-Schuster? And I know they put up a lot of points. We'll see. Maybe they'll call my bluff. But Bills are for real. What else happened in the AFC? Nothing. Herbert I think's a stud.
Yeah.
But they lost.
No, they won 24-19 against the Raiders. Cost me money.
Thank you.
I think the Raiders went for 2, which would have covered as a 3.5 spread. They missed it. It's 24-19. So never take my betting advice, no matter what. I had the Falcons covering. I didn't have them winning. I had them covering, and they did.
The AFC Championship team will come from that division. I'll just put it that way.
The AFC Championship team will come from the West?
The Bills will be in that game.
Yes.
The other team will come from.
You walk that Bills back real fast.
Yeah. It'll be Bills versus whatever team you pick that team in that division, and really there's nothing more to say about the AFC, right? I mean, what else is a surprise?
Well, yeah,
Who's surprised in the AFC?
I mean, you still can't count out Cincinnati. They had a weird game against Pittsburgh. Joe Burrow was intercepted like 5 times.
Yeah.
The stud kicker missed some kicks that should have won them the game, but they were still in the game. They came all the way back. and you have that Burrow to Chase connection.
And they got Higgins and Boyd.
And I think Steelers took a step back. Cleveland doesn't have Watson, and who's the other one? I'm not a Lamar Jackson fan.
Yeah,
I'm just not. I don't see them. I think maybe the Ravens can win the division, but I think the Bengals are still there. But the AFC West, is loaded. And there was also a lot of exodus of talent from the NFC to the AFC.
Correct.
That was kind of crazy.
Russell Wilson leaving certainly helps us.
Yeah. Devontae Adams. The Cardinals lost a few key players.
And it really kind of castrated, teams, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the Seahawks last night, now you go, wow, Geno Smith played really well last night.
Yeah, he did.
But you look at the Packers and you go, wow, it's still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But who's he thrown to? He might as well have me and you out there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you look at Tampa Bay and you go, okay, they won, but Tom Brady, you still can't count him out.
No.
But come on, at some point he's got to break. It happened to Peyton, right?
Yeah.
You saw the Super Bowl
that Super Bowl year, he couldn't throw the ball.
And I think Brady can still throw it, but Godwin's now hurt again. You got Mike Evans, you got Julio.
Yeah.
Julio might be the savior. I don't know. And if they want to run the ball more, which is great.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette is just a beast.
Yeah.
But their defense, right?
Yeah, I like their defense, to be honest.
It doesn't scare me.
No, it doesn't scare you. No.
That's what I mean. There's not a lot in the NFC that keeps me up at night. I think our division. I think people are going to be surprised by the Giants and the Commanders. That's apparent, right? No, you don't think so with Wentz?
I would say I'll go the Giants first. Love what they did on Sunday. Went for the win. Shut down Tennessee. I think Henry's might be shot. I think he might be on the.
Don't say that. He's on fantasy.
Sorry, but in that type of game, if that's an NFC East, he doesn't go for two there because it's an out of conference game. It doesn't matter. It's like last night, horrible decision. But if Denver loses to Seattle out of conference game, he probably goes for it on 4th and 5 as in conference game or a divisional game, right?
You think that plays into it?
A
lot different.
It's a coach first game. Yeah, Dable. Okay. But I think the Giants are just dreck. Daniel Jones, it was great to see Dable get in his face. And he had a pretty statistical completion good day. Mm-hmm. But Saquon came back. I think he watched Miles Sanders hold my beer, his former backup at Penn State. That Commanders, I think, are the ones they could be a little bit of trouble. Wentz, 4 touchdowns, 2 INTs, bad INTs. But those touchdown passes, there were some nice throws. Mm-hmm. You have to give it to him.
They have a really nice wide receiving core.
They do. And they get Samuel back, who was hurt all year last year.
Obviously, running the football is going to be tough for them because, Gibson is kind of McKissick,
Yeah.
As far as tight ends concerned. At one point, their defensive line really was Allen, and they had Kerrigan, but he's not there anymore. Chase Young, he's hurt.
Yeah.
So you're kind of the defense.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not gonna poop on Carson Wentz, but if he's gonna gunsling, he's got the weapons to gunsling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that he could have that gunslinging year. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
But other than that, I think the Giants are going to be better.
Okay.
I think they're going to be much better. I think they're going to be above 500.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I think Dable's that good of a coach.
Okay.
And they have weapons too. Barkley, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then NFC South.
Just the Bucks. I'm not high on the Saints. There's nothing on the Saints that scare me. I think until Tom Brady, like you said, retires, he's always going to be a factor.
So you're really looking at Vikings, Bucks, maybe the Eagles, and
Rams, Niners, Packers.
Rams. Niners not really scaring me with Trey Lance. Until they figure it out.
I agree.
But
they have the defense that can win games. Although they went to Chicago and lost. That was a weird game with the rain, but
I'll put respect on the Rams' name. They just won. So you got to be the man. You got to beat the man, as the famous Ric Flair would say.
Right.
Woo. So I wouldn't want to go play a road playoff game in LA.
No.
But I wouldn't mind having them come here.
Right.
So for me, selfishly, what I want to see is I want to see the Eagles get home field advantage
Yeah.
and win a playoff game, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Listen, I've been on record to say like it's every year it's Super Bowl or bust, but you have to put in reality too. Like,
Right.
What are the chances?
Right.
Your statistics aren't very high.
Right.
It could happen, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think division-wise, they have the most talented team. Dallas has too many injuries, and they lost a lot of key players in the offseason. Wentz, you don't know what we see what he does in September, but we know from our history what's he going to do late in the season, the Colts especially. It still baffles me how fast the Colts got rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that, we need to find out that backstory one day.
Get my sources on it.
Yeah, Giants just don't scare me. I don't see the Giants being that much of a factor. They give the Eagles fits. Vikings look really good. Again, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. In the South, maybe the Saints push for a playoff spot. I think you have the Saints kind of pushing on the perimeter. Panthers are I don't like the Panthers at all. Falcons are in transition. Mm-hmm. The West, the Niners are kind of the wild card there. And Arizona doesn't scare me. They lost too much talent. The Kyle Murray thing is like really interesting. His contract where he has to study the playbook. That's in his contract. Are you kidding me? And I think that Cliff Kingsbury, he might be the next, one and done college coach. I could see that happening.
I mean,
at the end of this year.
Arizona, I didn't even think about. Like, I thought that they would be really one team you have to keep an eye on. But yeah, to your point, like, what's going on with Kyler Murray? Like,
yeah. And they DeAndre, he's suspended. They lost Kirk, the wide receiver, who was number 2. They lost the running back Chase Edmonds to Miami, and they lost Chandler Jones on defense and Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
Or Reddick was on the Panthers, but they lost.
But they got Zach Ertz.
They got Zach Ertz. Won me some money with that touchdown. $10 parlay. There you go.
No, I mean, and he's the type of guy who, again, it's going to be very interesting to see in this next year with Lamar and even out for Jalen Hurts in there, when you see what quarterbacks are getting, like Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Did Kyler Murray deserve that contract?
Nope.
I don't know.
No.
But if he comes out and lays goose eggs,
yep.
I mean, they're tied to him.
Yep.
With $200 million.
Yep.
I know not all of it's guaranteed, but I know that's what Lamar wants.
Yeah.
Lamar wants fully guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Well, who's the next quarterback to get a contract after that?
Yeah, it'll be Jalen, yeah.
So that's what I love about him having an opportunity to go, like, grab the bull by the horns.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because essentially that's almost what Carson Wentz had was go out and win,
right?
And you're going to get the contract.
Right, exactly.
All you got to do is, just like Al Davis, just win.
Just win, baby. Just win, baby, yeah.
So,
yeah, interesting first week around the NFL. And the coolest story for me was the kicker in Kansas City. They had the safety kicking because Harrison Barnes or Butkus or whatever his name is out there. Butker.
Harrison Butker.
He hurt himself, and then they had the safety kicking. I thought it was a really cool story.
He was a kicker. He kicked at Stanford.
Okay.
He was the backup kicker at Stanford. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, really cool story.
His kickoffs out of the end zone.
Really? I didn't even see him.
Like, you think of a backup kicker, like, all right, he's like pooch kicking it, like, up and then catching it at the 20.
Yeah.
He kicked it out of the end zone.
Nice.
Impressive.
Nice.
Very impressive.
Nice. So right now we're looking at the Bills. Probably the Chiefs could be up there a little bit. Chargers could threaten because they have a better defense. But the NFC, you're right. It does seem wide open. Especially with the Niners losing as bad as they did, the Packers losing as bad as they did. Mm-hmm. You're right. It could be wide open for the Eagles. I still think Tampa and LA are the top 2 teams. I think LA will get it together. They did get blown their doors off by Buffalo in LA in their first game after the Super Bowl, but they'll get that together. They've done that in the past, and I'm just hoping that Stafford's not hurt that bad to where it affects him the rest of the season. Kind of like what happened to Peyton. Mm-hmm. He just has lost his arm strength, things like that.
The problem, I think I think the Von Miller leaving, I think is huge.
Okay.
I think you saw how impactful he was in that game.
Yeah.
And that's the type of guy that can kind of like take your team over the top.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a problem scoring points in LA.
No.
Cup.
Yeah. Robinson,
the Higbee, Everett, they got players there.
Yeah.
And I think because Sean McVay is such an offensive-minded guy, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They don't bother me. I think that when you look at Tampa Bay and you go, okay, Bruce Arians is gone, and what else?
I think JPP's not there anymore. Sue, I don't think is there anymore.
No, Sue. No, Sue's a free agent.
JPP
is a free agent because when Derek Barnett went down, I was like,
yeah,
you know?
good point. Good
So-
point. Good point. Yeah, I think with Tampa Bay and my way I see them, they're going to morph into those boring Patriot Belichicks, where it's going to be defense. Brady's just going to,
Dink and dunk.
yeah, and that's why I think Cameron Brate will have a big year.
He took a lot of shots though the other night.
Yeah, well, they lost 3/5 of their offensive line.
Right.
One guy retired, one went to Cincy, and the center's out.
One blew his knee out. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he is going to take a lot of shots, so I could see Fournette being big time, a lot of play action. Because there was years where the Patriots, while they were still winning, they were boring to watch.
yeah.
That Super Bowl where they beat the Rams, that was awful. That was one of the awful Super Bowl ever. Couldn't even watch it after the Eagles won.
If it wasn't for McCourty,
Yeah.
it was that throw from Goff to Cooks in the end zone, and Cooks was like sitting there waiting for it.
Yeah.
And McCourty just came out and like tipped it out of nowhere. Otherwise,
Yeah.
that would have been game.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good
And then
point.
you know what's nuts about that? If Goff wins the Super Bowl, Stafford probably never comes here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
kind of crazy how that can kind of
Yeah, that's another divorce that there need, like the Wentz Goff thing. We need to read why they were divorced so fast. We know why in Philly, but we really don't. I mean, he got the concussion, he left, but something was going on in that offseason, and then whatever happened in Indy is nuts because he was supposed to be the savior, and yeah, he crapped out.
And Frank Reich kind of like went to bat for him, so
Yes,
we need to bring this guy in.
yeah.
Frank Reich is probably the guy I would argue is probably the next one to kind of.
He might, yeah.
I mean, he's had how many quarterbacks?
Yeah,
You kind of go to bat for Wentz, and that kind of
Yeah.
shits the bed.
yeah.
Matt Ryan, like, did they win?
They tied the Texans.
That's right, they did. Okay, so you're like, oh, that's a great way to start. The season.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a thing. The AFC South played 4 games on Sunday. 2 teams played each other, and no one won. Tennessee lost, Indy, Houston tied, and Jacksonville lost to.
I mean, that's
Commanders.
probably the worst division in football. So.
Yeah, that and the NFC South. And how crazy is the thing about, and we're talking about the Eagles for a lot, but think about the beginning of training camp 2018. Eagles are coming off the Super Bowl. Foles goes to Jacksonville, so it's now Wentz is the guy again. Peterson's a Super Bowl winning coach. Who would have thunk within 3 years they would have been off the Eagles, and they would have been playing each other on two different teams?
Yeah.
When you think about the beginning of training camp 2018, expectations were still there, and then all of a sudden, Peterson gets fired, Wentz gets traded. Now Wentz is in Washington. I'm happy for Dougie P. I think that's a great spot.
Yeah,
but
he
the fact,
took
and they
time
played each other on Sunday on opposite
Yeah.
sidelines.
He said apparently they talked for like 4.5 minutes or whatever, and then, like that was it.
4.5 minutes.
Someone was probably sitting there with a stopwatch, like, and they got the shot of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what happens in the NFL when it comes to, Super Bowl wins. Your team gets. Talk about the Rams. Von Miller goes, I'm going to go to the Bills and try to be the first player to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different teams. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Respect. Aaron Donald's like, maybe I'll retire.
Yeah.
Sean McVay gets like a fucking $100 million contract offer to like come be in the booth, and he's like, maybe I'll think about it.
Right.
So you're kind of like, what's going on with that? You know what I mean? Like, so Patriots teams always tend to lose people, but they always gain somehow. And I don't know if that was just because of Brady and Belichick.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
I think that's what that was.
I think Mahomes. I think the Chiefs, because they have to pay Patrick Mahomes so much, it's going to be hard to build pieces around him.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to deal with getting like the third best wide receiver in free agency, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Right.
You hope that they draft a guy like Sky Moore and he's like the next Tyreek Hill.
Right.
You hope that.
Yeah.
But it's what happens when you win the Super Bowl. Your team.
Yeah.
That's why it's so hard to go back to back or even three-peat.
Yes.
That's why I don't think you'll ever see something like that again. Just the way the cap is, free agency, the way coordinators end up being head coaches because they get taken right from the Super Bowl winning teams.
Yep.
It's kind of remarkable, and I think that's also one of the things that makes the NFL so great is that it's not the Spurs.
Right.
NBA shout out. It's not the Spurs every year.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not the
Golden State.
Yeah, it's not Golden State every year.
Right.
It's a different team every year.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
so.
Tampa Bay Lightning in the NHL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It really. Yeah, it was a fun first week. We got the win. We didn't turn the ball over. That's what counts. It's going to be a great game Monday night with Minnesota, home opener here. Yeah, I think it was just a very interesting first week. We could talk about the games as much as possible. I thought Miami, given New England fits again, Belichick stinks, and when he goes to Miami, there's just something down there. It's crazy. But that Mike McDaniel, he called a 4th and 7 play, and he kind of looks like your college roommate from last year, the way he looks. But apparently the dude is like really funny in his press conferences, and obviously he's a pretty good coach. Yeah. Although we know that the Dolphins offered Sean Payton and Tom Brady a crap load of money, and he's the fallback guy. But Dougie P was our fallback guy.
There's going to be a 30 for 30 that comes out eventually about that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of got thrown under the rug.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's funny you brought up Sean Payton because I'm sitting here thinking about the Cowboys and I go to myself, as soon as they hired Mike McCarthy, I was like, awesome. How many years are they going to be more track? The problem with the Cowboys is if they get Sean Payton, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Until they get a good coach, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Sean Payton's going to go to the Dolphins now because he can't.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't think Brady's going to go there. I think Brady's done after this year.
Yeah. He pretty much retired and came back. Yeah.
So if I'm Sean Payton, I'm looking at the best available coaching, and it's probably the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Dak, Zeke, CD, where? I mean, you want to go to Indy?
Not with Matt Ryan, no.
Right.
Yeah.
The Jets, Salah's got
Salah's got some time.
Once Wilson comes back, we'll see. But I'm just trying to think of some teams that are might be looking for new head coaches.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Matt Quazbor's show. About an hour into it, wanted to just touch base and shift gears a little bit. It was great to see you in the spring when I was living here. Watched a lot of baseball, and it looks like there's going to be another Red October.
We'll see. I have my doubts, but we'll see.
So you think they're going to collapse as well? Huh?
No, I don't think they'll collapse. But listen, I don't. Once they fired the manager, once they fired Girardi, I was kind of like, all right, season's over. Good for was it Rob Thompson?
Yeah, Robbie Thompson. Yeah,
Robbie Thompson.
Yeah.
Good for him to sort of gather the troops and good for the troops to sort of not fold.
Yeah.
Great. I still think the problem with this team is pitching. So we'll see.
Yep.
Can you beat the Mets?
Nope. Not with Scherzer and DeGrom. If they're your first two you're facing in a 3-game series, that's...
Can you beat the Dodgers? I don't know. I don't know if they're that good yet. And we've already...
Yeah, we're not going there.
We already talked ad nauseum about the other player on the team, so I'm not going to get into that.
No.
If Wheeler's coming off, Wheeler through a bullpen session.
Yeah.
Nola, I mean, he's pretty reliable when it comes to pitching,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they could get 1 or 2 good pitchers in the offseason, I'm ready to watch
nice.
A little more.
But we're going to be watching this next month in Red October. There's going to be at least one series.
Listen, if they get in the playoffs, God willing, of course I'll watch. I'm not,
And a home game in Citizens Bank and during the playoffs is amazing as well. Those runs were amazing. None of those fans, those players, the opposition did not want to be there.
Do you think... So, interesting you brought up Citizens Bank Park.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple games that I watched, I don't know if it was weather related or whatnot, it didn't seem like there was a lot of fans in the stands. So my question to you is, do you think even if it's wild card, do you think they're going to pack the stadium, or do you think it's,
yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how Philly is, so I would err to the side as yes.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the juice isn't there for the Phillies, and I don't know if it's because we're in Eagles season right now.
Yeah.
Or what, but I don't see, and I think maybe a lot of people are like, okay, we're getting a wild card, great, but are we getting past that?
Right.
So I don't know. Are people invested in it?
They will be. We've also had a crazy schedule recently of playing some really bad teams. I mean, we had the Pirates and the Reds back-to-back in 7 games. We had the Nationals a lot. They're a dreck. Sunday, if you're talking about Sunday, they had like an 8-hour rain delay between, the Eagles game was done and one and done before they played that game. But I think this weekend will be telling. And this is the last homestand. They're playing the Braves. I think 3 games at the end of this week when they get out of Miami. So that's gonna be like playoff atmosphere because the Braves are the rival, right?
Okay.
Then they go on the road against. Then they go back to the Cubs, the Nationals.
And then what? 2.5.
They're up 1.5, but in the second wild card position. So that means San Diego's in even, but the Brewers are 2 back. So the Brewers have a lot of work to do to get to us, unless we fall off the face of the earth like Jason thinks. But if they went 12-12,
Shout out to Jason.
yeah, shout out to Jason. 12-12 over there. The Brewers have to go like almost double that. Like not 24-0, but you know what I mean. They'd have to win a crazy couple of games. Yeah, it's fun watching this team. What I like about them is that JT Realmuto came back. He's having an awesome year. And when guys were down, other guys were picking him up. Hoskins got off to a horrible start. Bryce was having an MVP-like year again until he got hurt. Then when Bryce went on the DL, guys like Alex Bohm stepped up, JT Realmuto, and the bullpen got extremely better. Like, that was really good to see. And they're beating bad teams. You can only play what's put in front of you, right? In any sport, and they're beating these bad teams crazily. We played, and we won the season series against the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Cardinals and the Brewers. We're handling the Braves. We won the season series against the Dodgers. But what's interesting is the Cardinals and Brewers, we won the season series. So even if we're tied for the wild card, we get in.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. It looks like if they play the Mets in the first round, could be one and done. But again, at least they have the longest drought in the NL. Haven't made the playoffs in 11 years. The other team that has the longest drought in all of baseball is Seattle Mariners, and they're up like 2 games in the wild card. So you're going to see these 2 teams break their streaks and get back to the playoffs, hopefully.
I think that watching some young guys, too, from the Phillies, I might murder their names. Bryson Stott.
Stott, yep.
I think that kid, he looks really good.
Yep.
I'm amiss to another guy. That shows you how much I watch baseball. Outfielder. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Stott. And that was one of the complaints about Girardi. He was
Is he
not
the one that's got
playing.
all the tattoos? Stott?
No.
There's one. I thought there was one guy. Maybe was that Moniak?
Yeah, and we
You got
traded
traded
him.
him,
Yeah.
All right. Well, shout out to Mickey Moniak. Thanks for your help.
Yeah. No. That was one of the things with Girardi. He was not playing the younger guys. He was loyal to his guys like Didi, who got released and didn't get picked up. Loved Didi Gregorius. Was putting in some random third baseman all the time that was not hitting, but wouldn't play the guys as well. Yeah, Stott's played well.
Do you think that the manager, who cares about how the season ends, but do you think he gets a shot, or it's kind of like thank you for your service?
Well, I think he gets a shot.
Yeah.
The reason being is that he's been with the Phillies for a long time now. He was a bench coach under Gabe Kapler, came from the Yankees, and Girardi kept him. And the fact that how well they've turned around, the Phillies were 22-29 when they fired Girardi, and they have a better record now at this point in the season than the 2008 World Series team did and the 1980 Phillies. 78 wins.
Stats.
Yeah. So, but they also had a crazy easy schedule after the All-Star break, so that has really helped them as well. Also, man, can't wait to text with you when Bryce Harper hits the game-winning home run in Game 5 against the Mets. Yeah, off Edwin Diaz. Can't wait.
I can't wait for the gifts. Hey, like I said, if he makes me out as a liar and I'm wrong, then listen, I'll respect. But you know where I stand.
Yeah, I do.
Everyone knows.
Yep.
At this point.
Yeah, we talked at NFL, touched on the Phillies, but I did want to still touch a little bit about. You brought up a good point before the podcast. It's 2 weeks to Sixers training camp, and I want to get your thoughts about how this team has been constructed since we finally got rid of Ben Simmons, and get Harden. But then they went out and made a lot of other interesting moves. So what are your thoughts on them? I don't have too much of an opinion because all I know is about P.J. Tucker.
Love P.J. Tucker. I've talked to him. I've talked about him for I don't know how long. Him and Montrezl Harrell, who we just got, like those are the type of guys that I've always wanted on a Sixers team because they're the type of guys that I always use the word goon and it's probably not the right word,
Right.
but a guy that like. If you're coming down the lane, you might get hard fouled by this guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not going to be, it's not going to be one of those things where the word enforcer comes to mind, but that's not it. It's just guys like that add a sense of toughness.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to create the bad boy Pistons.
Right.
But every team that you watch win in an NBA Finals has a guy like that.
Right.
Draymond Green is an enforcer.
Right.
I know as much as Draymond Green's a pain in the ass, he's that type of guy that's going to get in your face. He's not going to back down, and that's the type of guys we need on this team. Because for as much as Joel Embiid would like to say he's a tough guy, he can be a little bit of a softie when it comes to being physical and so on and so forth. And he starts to talk and blah, 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 blah. As far as construction of the team, like I said, PJ Tucker, I love Montrezl Harrell. Was it Wright? I'm trying to think of the other guy we got. I'm blanking. I have to pull up the roster.
Yeah.
Listen, bench is great. You need it. You need a strong bench to win an NBA championship. But none of that makes any sense, or all of that is bleak if Joel Embiid cannot stay healthy.
Yes.
And I feel like I say the same thing every year.
Yes.
But that's the fact of the matter. The best ability is availability. When Joel Embiid goes into another series and he's taped up his thumb, or his foot hurts, or his knee's banged up, or he eats too much Chick-fil-A, like, I need this guy to just be healthy for the playoffs.
Yes.
And he consistently isn't. Will having James Harden for a full season be a help? Absolutely. Does James Harden need to be better? Absolutely.
Yes.
Can James Harden be better? Big question mark.
Yes.
I think he's the type of player that this team needed.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as construction, we know what Joel Embiid is. We know what we need from him. We know what James Harden can be. We just hope that he can become James Harden from the Rockets and not James Harden from the Nets.
Yes.
Bench guys, I would still like a shooter personally, but I got another guy I didn't even bring up, which I'm embarrassed to say, but Tyrese Maxey is a bona fide player.
Yeah.
He's got to continue to take the next steps in his career.
He does.
I don't know what they do with Tobias Harris. And Tobias Harris, he kind of he's hot and cold.
Yeah.
But I would love a shooter. I would love this team at the free agency time or trade deadline to go out and get a Bertans, the kid from Duke. I can't think of. He played for the Pistons. I need that JJ Redick type guy.
Okay.
George Niang to me is not a guy that I'm like.
He fell apart.
He's not raising my eyebrows. I would love just another outside shooter that we can rely on. But as far as what Daryl Morey's done in the offseason, I think he had the opportunity was out there probably to get Kevin Durant, but the price was probably way too high.
Yeah.
If you could trade Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Thibault to get Kevin Durant, you would do it. There's no one that could argue that point. You'd argue it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're arguing.
But keep going.
But that's the type of guy that just he's a game changer. He is the second best player in the NBA.
Okay.
So I would have liked to take a shot at him. I know it's difficult because we had Harden. We made the move for Harden. Making the move for Harden, we didn't think that Kevin Durant was going to be available. Otherwise, maybe we could have gotten Kevin Durant rather than James Harden. But
for Simmons, yeah.
Listen, I like James Harden. I think he's the type of guy we need. And I'm happy with Doc Rivers, although a lot of people are kind of done with Doc Rivers. I still think coaching is very important in the NBA. But I'm excited. Again, I think a full season with Harden is helpful.
Yeah.
I think the bench. I think PJ Tucker is going to be more important than people think. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So I have the list of the moves that they made. Sixers traded their draft pick to Memphis for some guard named DeAnthony Melton. Mm-hmm. They went free agency, opened up. The Sixers getting PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and Travell Queen before re-signing Harden. As you talked about, they added Montrezl Harrell the other day, and did really seem to get some more veterans in here with playoff experience that are tough. And that's what they seem like they're doing. It's like they're trying to form that 2001 Sixers team in a way. They're not, but it kind of reminds me of those types of moves. Quickly on Durant, I think Durant, he only plays when he wants to play. That kind of bothers me. I could see him, coming to the Sixers and playing every third or fourth game with some injury, and then he comes into the playoffs. Am I willing to sacrifice a maxi for that when you might only have him for 1 or 2 years? Yes, the goal is to win a championship. I don't see him as the second best player in the league. I just don't. I mean, if you look around, I love. It's a good question. My knowledge is a little bit off, but I would have to. You have to go out west a little bit.
It's not LeBron.
No, it's not LeBron. Steph. You can't argue. Shooting guards are tough.
Yeah.
To say is the best player in the league. There's some good young guys. I would rather Giannis Morant over Durant out of Memphis.
Morant over Durant, huh?
Yeah, I would, just because, and it also has to play in with his age.
Tatum.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Well, no, I'm saying.
I look at it as like a longevity. If you're going to trade a maxi who has a potential to be a key cog, maybe not a franchise player, drafted at position number 20 in the draft for 2-3 years of a Durant, you don't know if you're going to hurt Durant. He's had some bad injuries over the years. You have a Harden who has injuries. Embiid is injury prone. Was not ready to sacrifice Maxey for that.
The what if with Maxey is what I've already seen in Durant. That's why I make that move.
But I don't think Durant has that left.
What makes you think that he doesn't have it left? Because he doesn't.
Because he hardly plays. He's torn his Achilles. He's ripped up his knee. It's like Tom Brady. Eventually, the clock gets you.
I don't know, man.
Plus, I don't watch as much NBA. I will admit that you do.
No, I mean that's fair. I mean, I just think that the move for James Harden was coming. We knew it was coming because of Daryl Morey, because of Ben Simmons. If you could turn back the clock and say, could I have made that move and got Kevin Durant over James Harden?
I would do Durant.
I think people would have gotten. I think people would have want Kevin Durant.
Sure.
That's why I think in the offseason it was almost a pipe dream to get Kevin Durant.
Right.
There was a lot of chatter about it.
Right.
But you could have still. I think you still make the call, and I think it did happen. I just don't know what has transpired, and I know now they want to run it back. But I mean, that team now, with Ben Simmons, is it? I mean, you laugh. It's really Ben Simmons, Kyrie, Blake Griffin, Seth Curry, Durant. You're okay, they're in the playoffs, but
I would have seen Curry come back. Seth Curry be that that shooter off the bench for us.
Yeah,
he liked playing here.
I mean, listen, I will always, if I was a GM, I will always roll if I know that I can get a Kevin Durant and I have Maxey who looks like a player and could be a perennial all-star. Great, but I'm not going to keep that with the what if. I know what I have in Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is one of the top players in the NBA. I am doing what I can to get him, no matter what is going on here. And the fact that he was available, John Morant isn't available. Giannis isn't available. Tatum isn't available. Kevin Durant was available. You had your choice of Kevin Durant, Kyrie, Russell Westbrook. You have all these guys that were. I know everyone laughs about, but those were the guys that, if you were to build your team 8 years ago, you'd be
oh yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
But Kevin Durant, out of all of those, to me, is the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, John.
As always.
Yeah, man. It's 1 minute and 21 hours. And 25 minutes.
We've put all the
seconds.
Listeners to sleep.
Yes, we have. So I really appreciate you joining the podcast with the Matt Kwazaborski Show. Play the fight song one more time, and then we'll close it out. The road Once again, John is playing a meme or a small video from the last time the Vikings played in Philadelphia with a little boy yelling in an old woman's face. Wonderful show, John. Thanks for everyone that's listened. Will tune in and listen later. It was wonderful doing a podcast again, Matt Kwazaborski Show. Thanks to Al Gore and the Internet, and to all the loyal listeners. Have a wonderful week 2 in the NFL.